Hi, I'm Dr. Kulreet Chaudhary and welcome back to my kitchen. So now I'm going to show you today what I have for a snack. Now, I don't have long periods between meals because I typically only eat when the sun is out. So the reason that I have a snack is not necessarily because I'm starving or having a bunch of cravings, but I use it as an opportunity to balance my body. So for my snack, I create this ojas-packed saffron milk drink. I'm going to walk you through how to prepare it and why I use the ingredients that I do and why I take it when I do. So we're going to first begin with our milk. Now, many people tell me in the beginning that, Dr. Chaudhary, I cannot tolerate milk, and so I've completely removed it from my diet. It's not that they're incorrect, it's just that we've actually lost our ability to digest milk, which happens when our Agni or digestive fire gets weak. And there are ways to actually build up your digestive fire so that you can digest milk again. The first question that comes to mind when I tell people this is, well, why do I have to drink milk? I'm perfectly fine without it. Milk is such a wonderful source of ojas, and although there's many other foods that also are a wonderful source of ojas, milk just has this quality of really replenishing your body with so many nutrients that you don't find in many other foods. So if you're trying to build up ojas and you're open to taking the time to slowly improve your digestion so that you can break down milk, I highly recommend using this particular recipe as your route. Because so many people cannot digest milk, I'm going to show you all the different ways that you can add spices that actually improve digestion and help you to break down your milk. First, we're going to begin by just adding 1 clove. Now, you don't need a lot of these spices to actually help to digest the milk. We're going to add our clove to the milk before we boil it. And the milk that I use is raw milk. We're still going to heat it up, but raw milk tends to be more digestible than regular milk, especially homogenized milk. If you don't have access to raw milk, at least look for an organic, unhomogenized milk. The homogenization process is one of the things that makes modern day milk undigestible. So we've added our clove to my whole raw milk. And again, if you're trying to just slowly ease into digesting milk, you don't have to start with an entire cup of milk. You can begin with maybe just 1/3 milk and the rest water. That makes the milk more dilute and easier to digest as you're retraining your gut to digest milk. In addition to the clove, I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon. Now for me, I love cinnamon, as I've mentioned many times, but it's very, very heating. So I'm going to add just a little bit, maybe just 1/16 of a teaspoon. But for those of you that really have a hard time digesting milk, you can add up to 1/8 of a teaspoon or 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. And the cinnamon powder really adds that wonderful taste as well as that heat to help digest the milk. And I love nutmeg. And instead of getting it powdered, I like just getting it whole and then just grating a little bit of nutmeg. And the nutmeg is also heating and helps with digestion. So you don't need a lot, just a little bit. Oh, and if you have not had nutmeg like freshly grated, you're really missing out because the smell is just wonderful when you actually grate it fresh. And then to this, I'm going to add 3 rosebuds. These are Siberian rose, and typically these are used to make a tea. The reason why I add it is rose is really healing to the emotions. So I first started making this for my son as he was going into puberty when emotions are super, super intense. So when he takes his milk, he just kind of calms down because of the effect of the rose. And then later on, I realized just how soothing it was for me as I'm going into perimenopause. So it's working for both of us as we're going through these intense transitions in hormones. And then finally, we're gonna go over to our mortar and pestle to add our final ingredients. So to make the milk digestible, again, I'm adding another heating spice, ginger, and you can add up to, I would say this is probably all together a little under a half an inch of ginger. I'm going to add less than that because I don't usually need that much heat. And then 1 or 2 peppercorns, depending on your needs. And this you're just going to crush. This mortar and pestle, crush all of that together. Okay, and then all of that is going to go into your milk. You're going to boil all of these ingredients into the milk. And that is what helps to make the milk more digestible. Now, for those of you who have no problem digesting the milk, you're welcome to add these other digestive spices. It still gives it a wonderful taste, but it's not necessary if you don't need it. If you just want to enjoy a snack that is regenerative and you have no problem with milk, just use the whole raw milk. And you can just add the roses in and maybe a little bit of cinnamon for taste, a little bit of nutmeg for taste. But other than that, you don't have to add in the ginger or the black peppers or the cloves unless you want it for taste. Now, for those of you who like doing golden milk with turmeric, perfectly fine. Go ahead and add the turmeric in right now. And for me, it varies. Sometimes I'll add turmeric, sometimes I won't. When I do add it, I'll add just about a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. You can do a little bit less or a little bit more. And the black pepper does help with the absorption of turmeric. So if you're going to add the turmeric, I do recommend that you add just a little bit of the crushed black peppercorns into your milk. So I'm going to go heat this up, and then I'm going to explain to you how I add in the saffron once this is done. So my milk is boiled, and you need to actually let the milk boil all the way up. That boiling process also helps to make it more digestible. It smells amazing. Oh my gosh, I can smell that nutmeg, the cinnamon, and then the hints of rose coming out. So all of those spices have now been infused into the milk. It's just absolutely such a pleasure to be able to smell that. So the final ingredient for my milk, which is one of my secret ingredients, is saffron. Saffron grows in these beautiful flowers with purple petals, and the saffron is actually the 3 stamen inside of the flower, and it's hand-picked, and that's why saffron is more expensive than gold per weight. Saffron is one of my other kind of food splurges, and again, it's because of all of the benefits of it. Saffron is one of the foods that really helps to increase ojas, and you don't need a lot of it to help with that ojas production. It is also one of the most sattvic herbs, and what that means is it actually promotes qualities like compassion, unconditional love, even temperament as you consume it. I mean, how great is that? To actually have your food helping your mind rather than your food making your mind toxic. So saffron is something that I always keep in my kitchen. Saffron is wonderful for the reproductive system. It's really good for the blood and heart, and wonderful for the nervous system. It has this very strong calming effect. So saffron can be tricky though in terms of actually being able to extract it. You never cook saffron, so if you're going to add it to milk, you cook the milk first and then you can add the saffron afterwards. You could add the saffron strands directly in and just allow for it to slowly dissolve and release some of its properties into the milk. I was a little bit kind of impatient with that process, and I always felt like I'm never getting kind of all of the saffron infused to the milk. So what I do, and I learned this trick from an Ayurvedic practitioner in India, is I take about 3 strands of saffron, put it into the mortar, and using the pestle, I grind it until it's a really, really fine powder. that does not take a lot of work because saffron is so delicate. And so with very little effort, I've got it completely ground down now into a nice fine powder. Now the problem though is that powder is stuck to the bottom of my pestle and to the bottom of my mortar. And I don't want it to be stuck there. I want it in my milk. So what I do, this is kind of my little hack with saffron, is I put a little bit of the milk in there. By the way, the reason the milk is already yellow is as it was boiling, I couldn't help but add the turmeric. I kept thinking about it and going, I do want turmeric in my milk today. So I added the turmeric, so it's already got that yellow color. But if you decide not to add turmeric, when you add the saffron to the milk, it'll get that same kind of yellowish color. So I add a little bit of the milk and I just combine that with the powder that was stuck to the bottom of my pestle and onto the mortar, and it all dissolves now into the milk. So if I hadn't already added the turmeric, you would then see that this milk would become this beautiful golden color. And so now all the saffron is off of my pestle and in my milk, and I just add the whole thing back. This is such a nourishing snack. It's not even a snack to have because you're having cravings, although it will definitely fulfill a lot of your cravings. Or even if you're overly hungry, it's a wonderful snack to have to help to support your body every single day. So the last thing that I add to this is going to be my honey, but I'm going to let this cool down because we never have honey go into a liquid that is hot because it will create a toxin. So I'm just going to add all of this, and I'm using a nice clear jar so you can see and get those rose petals in. No need to remove all the spices. You can just let it sit there and it'll continue to infuse. So this will just cool down for a few minutes, and then once it's cool, I will add my honey. And again, one of my other food splurges is Manuka honey, which I add to all of my foods, really as much of a medicine as it is for the taste. So when do I drink this? I drink saffron milk in a lot of different situations. So typically I'll use it every day between the hours of 2 to 4 because that's during Vata hour. The full time is between 2 to 6 p.m. is Vata hour. And I'll usually take a break around 3 p.m. and have my saffron milk because that's when my energy tends to dip. And so saffron milk is just a great way to add in that extra ojas. It has the ginger, the turmeric, the honey, the milk, in addition to the saffron. And those are all things that actually help to boost ojas. I try to make this for my son every day also when I pick him up from school or as soon as he comes home from school, because it helps take the edge off of kind of decompressing after the day. And especially for teenagers, they're under kind of so much emotional pressure as it is. And so this particular combination with the roses really helps to just kind of relax him and help him to just let the day go without me having to lecture him or anything, and him actually doing something that's enjoyable to taste. So those are the two main times. Now, anytime that I'm fasting, I'll also make sure that I'm taking things during my fast. It's typically a liquid fast. I'll take things that are boosting ojas so that I'm not losing ojas when I'm fasting. So let's just give this a few minutes to cool down. We'll add the honey and then I'll let you know what it tastes like. Can't wait. So now my milk is nice and cool. And the way that you can tell if it's safe to add the honey is just stick your finger in. If it's comfortable to touch, boy, that is tasty milk. But if it's comfortable to touch, then it's safe to add the honey. So I don't add a lot of honey. I really look at honey from a medicinal standpoint. So about a half a teaspoon of my tasty Manuka honey. And just stir that in. That's such a great complement to everything else that this milk is doing, because this is really a regenerative milk. So normally it'd be around 2:30 or 3 o'clock. I'd feel kind of that little dip in energy in the day. It's Vata hour. I have Vata dosha in my body. So I reach for my saffron ojas milk. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It is just so good. Wonderful. You've got some of those pungent tastes with the cinnamon, the ginger, and the black pepper. And then you have the saffron with its own wonderful, unique taste. Every time I have saffron, I can actually feel like this wave of relaxation come over me. And that's just from 3 little strands of saffron. How amazing is that? Love it. And then you have that hint of the rosebuds. It just brings the whole thing together. It's such a treat, and it's so good for your body, so good for your mind, and it helps you to stay healthy and young by boosting your ojas. So that's my daily snack, and the snack that I make for my son almost every day. And I hope that this becomes something that you'll bring into your house, even if you can't do it every day, as a treat, maybe on the weekends, or taking that time aside for yourself to just kind of relax after a busy work day and just sip your wonderful ojas milk and treat yourself to a little piece of heaven.